Now there's a lot of magic systems out there, and a lot of them have their own rules, which is a fantastic aspect of the fantasy genre. But one that has really caught my attention for its ingenuity and creativity is Path of the Berserker, where the magic system is built on one's rage, emotions, and more specifically, anger. Let's talk about it. Hey there everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and today we are talking about Path of the Berserker, a Dowpocalypse progression fantasy series. And that series is currently out with 2 books, and the author is named Rick Scott. This gentleman is doing one heck of a series. I'm always a big fan of progression/cultivation series, and I feel like they tie so closely to genres like lit RPG, or going more on a general basis, it's a subgenre of fantasy. But when you really get a great cultivation series, you can be blown away by the intricacies that are put into each, and how the series actually blends really well with the fantasy genre, with how it can be written. That's a whole word jumble for me saying you should check this one out, and here are a few reasons why with a semi-spoiler-free review. Our main protagonist, Max, is a young boy living his life playing Minecraft when one day the world decides to end within just a few hours. Now, the Earth is going through some orbital mess or some such nonsense where they've entered the wrong part of space, and now the nights turn the moon red and the beasts and people into berserk, non-thinking, bloodthirsty monsters. Yes, not an ideal situation, I completely agree. Thankfully, however, the space aliens who look just like you and me, who practice cultivation, have come down to save just the kids, and specifically the young kids, because they want to indoctrinate them into their own society through this empire, and they don't want to deal with any misfits or people who have ideas of their own on how life should be lived. That's why they choose to pick up kids usually under 5, so they have very few memories about what life was like prior to it, and they're more easily taken into this new system of living. That's a long-winded way for me to say we have now gotten to a time jump, and our main character is now about 18, 19, 20 years old, and he's tried to make a life in this new settlement. Let's just say it's pretty difficult if you are not talented with cultivation. Lo and behold, he meets an unexpected mentor who's able to show him a different kind of cultivation, if you can even call it that, and you guessed it, that is the Path of the Berserker, where one can utilize their own emotions to make some pretty miraculous things happen. I'll leave it at that. The magic system is fantastic, which is jumping into my first pro. I know, it didn't give y'all too much of a heads up there. I'm just running through this video. With that said, I love this magic system. The ability to base one's power off of one's emotions, as well as the emotions of other people around oneself, is really well done, in my opinion. Yes, there's other series out there that have kind of touched on this basis or made emotional magic their own, but in this series, I think Rick Scott has done a really great job of capturing the anger of the main protagonist, having to, let's say, goodbye to his family without wanting to, having to live a life of mediocrity in some society that is supposed to be substantially better than the one he had come from, while he also remembers the good parts and the lie that he's being told. And utilizing that anger, as well as the adoration and fear of the others around him, really gives this magic system a flavor of its own. And some might even call it a flavor like lemonade. Who's to say, though, at the end of the day? Now, my con for this series is I believe every single book out there needs to hit the hero's journey. You gotta hit the specific plot points. This one is a little too specific on hitting them. I feel like, you could almost look at how many chapters there are on a book, and you could be like, all right, boom, in chapter 5 he's going to meet his mentor, and you'd be right on the money there. And not to say it's written poorly, it's a fantastic book, first and second specifically, but it is almost rigid with the hero's journey. And throughout the rest of the series, I'd love to see Rick Scott take some time to make some possibly different choices where he's going against the grain on certain things a little bit. But again, that's a small con. What he does right here is phenomenal, and I loved book 1 and book 2, which is why I'm recommending it in the first place. Now, my third pro for this series is definitely the world building. It's always interesting to see what a different kind of culture you're going to get, especially in progression fantasy books. And this book definitely does not disappoint there. And it's even more so here with the Empire having taken control of Earth and putting down their own rules and regulations, and seeing that dichotomy between how life is like now compared to what life was like prior to these people coming over and taking over the planet. What you get to see with the cultural elements here, it's very Eastern, and it's very on the nose of what you would expect out of, I would say, 15th century China. You can tell that the author put a lot of research into finding out what life would look like before our technological and industrial booms, and it makes a lot of sense when you can utilize magic and cultivation to really make a lot of things happen. That's why you don't need technology, and that's why it's really frowned upon when you see technology in cultivation series. Not to say it can't be done very well. Defiance of the Fall is one example right there, but at the end of the day, this is a fantastic world-building experience here. All in all, I was a big fan of this series. There's currently 2 books out. The first 10 chapters, or is it 10%? It's one or the other, is on Royal Road, so if you are a reader, I recommend checking out that free sample that's given to you on Royal Road and see if the book is for you. It definitely picks up the longer you get into it. The stakes get higher, and you get to see a lot more of what the main character has to offer. So if you are interested, definitely check it on out there. If you just want to take my word for it, I believe it's fairly reasonable priced with a credit if you want to do that through Audible or Kindle, but that is up to you at the end of the day. With all that said, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you'll have a fantastic rest of your week, and be sure to keep reading. For those of you who have read both book 1 and book 2, which I hope you have, because we're talking spoilers here, I think we all can agree that Max has some work to do when it comes to his leadership skills, or at least administration skills. Thankfully, I think he's learned the necessity of delegation and bringing his peers and his trusted friends around him into really what's happening behind the scenes, and fingers crossed he's going to be able to rely on them more, because it looks like he's going off planet in book 3. We'll see how Rick Scott decides to play this new Academy arc. When it comes to his love interest dating Miss Silver, I definitely, and I think we all can agree, we definitely got the Romeo and Juliet arc here, and thankfully they were able to work out their issues after he was able to save her life. I do believe he could have played his cards a little better, but at the end of the day, the protagonist is supposed to be a 20-year-old kid. I'm looking back at my early 20s and thinking, I can understand the mistakes he's made, and I'm sure all of y'all can as well if you have gotten to that age of hindsight yet, which I highly recommend. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Empress of this world, I guess she's not the Empress, but Her Majesty, is going to mess up Max's love life with Lady Silver. She definitely needs him to rise up in station, but it seems like she's betting all of her cards on Max, and he needs to, if not survive the new Academy arc coming up, he needs to thrive. And I think we all can agree that he is going to be able to. Whether or not he'll be able to keep his secret of being a berserker is another story. I imagine someone along the way is going to find out, if I had to guess, potentially a friend, and he might need to take care of that person, if you know what I'm saying. All in all, I really did enjoy this series. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when he's able to return to Earth and seeing what's happened to the sect. I think he has people in the right places to be able to grow it. I did really enjoy this series, as y'all can probably tell. Definitely going to be one of my favorites for this year, so be sure to keep your eyes out for when we get a little close to the end of the year and I end up doing a top 10. I hope y'all have a fantastic rest of your week and be sure to keep reading.